Hey, Kaya, book 1 to 4, available now at all booksellers, comic shops, bookstores, Amazon, etc. Check it out. Book 5 is on the way. Enjoy the episode. Just thinking about single issues and how we can make them special. The art of the single issue. I think single issues are kind of an art form in a way, to do them right. Something of a lost art form in a way, because we think of the single issues as kind of this disposable thing sometimes, just feeding into the trade paperback, the collection, which is, to a certain degree that's true. At the end of the day, the thing that's going to stand the test of time, it is those collections are what really matters at the end of the day. But it doesn't mean that we can't try our best to make. I just like the idea of making each thing valuable in its own way. Single issues have play to their strengths. A digital version can play to its strengths, and the collections in softcover, hardcover, etc. They each have their own thing, and maybe that's something I'll be talking about in future episodes. Is like there's a focus for me on the single issue, probably just because I'm an old man and that's kind of what I grew up on. The single issues, going into the comic book shops, that kind of thing. I have I have a love for that kind of stuff. I have probably a nostalgic love for that kind of thing. So I think about that a lot. And that can be maybe a topic for future episodes, trying to talk about what we can do to make the trade paperback special, what we can do to make the digital version. There's what's popping up now is kind of like the compact version. I've seen there's a something, Image is doing one with Saga, obviously the DC Comics version with All-Star Superman, and the old Ed Brubaker, Darwin Cook Catwoman, and Yannick Paquette and Grant Morrison's Wonder Woman, etc., etc. The DC compact line is doing really well. I think Marvel and everybody else is looking at that and seeing how they can use that model with their own comics. Anyway, as usual, getting off topic, rambling a little bit into different areas, but bringing it back to the single issue for now. I've talked about the recap page, putting at the front the back matter that you can put at the back. I looked into a little bit of what Watchmen did as kind of a gold standard for back matter. Another thing that I was thinking was possibly doing 2 comics for the price of 1, kind of an idea, where it's like, what if there were 2 comic books that came out in one, say a 40-page comic book, 20 pages of story for one story, 20 pages of story for another, and possibly you could get the price down for that, make it a reasonable price for people to buy and try it out. And you could have 2 stories in there, 2 strong stories, and they would each eventually feed into their own trade paperback. That's something that I've thought about for a little while. Thinking about, it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a bit of a nascent idea. I haven't really thought it out too hard. But I feel like anything that we can do to kind of make these different comic books stand out in their own way, I think that would be kind of an interesting thing. Recently I've seen, versions of that with, let's say, DC, and probably Marvel does the same thing, where it's like there's one upfront story and there's something at the back. There's a kind of a backup story at the end of each issue with, a major DC character up front and maybe like a slightly less, or a minor character at the back. That could be kind of something that we can focus on, and I think could create like interesting results. You can give a big focus to to your main story. Often, you know, because I work so much with Image comic books and create our own stuff, and currently, you know, I do a little bit of work here and there with DC and Marvels, and I do think about those characters quite a bit. But I also, you know, generally my mind kind of goes to the publishers like, you know, Dark Horse, Boom, Image, etc., that do more kind of, not always creator owned, but you know what I mean, like not the standard superhero fare of DC and Marvel. Wondering, you know, I'm just thinking, well, what could be done there? You could do an upfront story that gets the main collection, and there could be something that is much, you know, maybe a slightly shorter story, something that takes a bit more time to produce, maybe an artist. You know, it happens a lot that there are these incredible artists out there that are, because of how incredible and, you know, detailed and beautiful their artwork is, they're just not meant for, you know, it's impossible to produce some of this art on a monthly schedule. So you end up kind of, you could give that person a smaller, you know, say it's like a 25-page upfront story created by a creative team that's a bit more of a deadline-driven kind of a faster team. And then at the back, maybe you do a 10-pager at the back that is done by a different artist that's a bit slower, but that's, you know, it creates beautiful, possibly intricate work. And you allow them, you know, the time to, you allow them the visibility of having a monthly comic book that everybody can see. It's just kind of an accepted and understood that this will take longer to turn into a collection eventually. And if you really love this story and you want to buy into it, you kind of need to do the monthly issues. And eventually, once enough of this story is collected, then and only then will it be put into a trade paperback. So that might be kind of an interesting thing. It's one of those ones, again, I haven't really thought about it too much. Half of this is literally like I'm thinking about it as I'm as I'm putting the blue down on these pages, trying to come up with something here. And I actually kind of like this idea, even though it's kind of on the fly, which is not my usual thing. Usually I need to think about these things for a long time. But yeah, that would be a useful thing for a lot of artists. One of my current favorite comics is New Gods, Ram V and Evan Kegel. I don't know if assuming that's, I'm always terrible with this. I don't talk about this a lot of the time, like my favorite creators and stuff. I don't, most of my friends are not comic book people, so I don't always talk about this. So it's one of my, to my detriment, I mispronounce comic book people's names like all the time. So anyway, I apologize if I'm not getting anyone's names right in any of these videos, but he's Evan. I don't know him personally. I'm just going to call him Evan. His artwork is incredible on New Gods and also on Dawn Runner, both of which he worked with Ram V on both those comics. But I would imagine, I figure, just looking at the work, it's incredible. He's kind of the guy that I was thinking of when I was saying, you know, some guys are incredibly detailed and it looks very intricate and very hard to put together on a monthly schedule. I think part of what the fun of that series is that there's these stories that start up. There's like pieces of stories, flashbacks, whatever it may be, and that's drawn by a different artist each issue, which kind of, I assume, and again, I'm just guessing here, I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume that gives, you know, there's, let's say, 3 pages up front from a different artist giving a flashback to something part of the New Gods story, and then that leaves, say it's I'm not sure, let's say it's a 20-page comic. That means Evan has to draw 17 pages or so, or, you know, 16, 17 pages rather than the full 20, which I'd imagine, you know, it helps. Every page you don't have to do on a monthly deadline really makes a difference. So I'd imagine kind of Ram made up that structure to help Evan be able to do a monthly comic and produce pages and not, you know, not kill himself, not go, you know, not wreck his body trying to get these deadlines done. Although I'm sure he's still, just looking at the work, I'm sure he works incredibly hard to get those things even close to a monthly schedule. So yeah, there could be something like that. That would be really interesting. I'd really love to see that, where there's a faster deadline driven team up front, and then there's something that is just kind of more taking your time and creating something more slowly and possibly with beautiful results. You know, that would be an interesting thing to do. So yeah, that's one more idea for something that can make for an interesting single issue. We'll see if that it'll be interesting over the next few years to see kind of what takes place and what innovations people come up with. Currently, I'm, writing and drawing Kaya, and that takes up all my time. And when I'm not, I would say it takes up all my time, except that I'm doing another issue, writing and drawing another 6-issue series for DC and Marvel. For DC. And that is taking up a lot of time. So a lot of these things are just ideas that I'm putting down on video now, and I'm hoping one day when Kaya is done, I'll revisit some of these ideas and hopefully be able to do some of them myself. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thunderhead, superheroes on acid. That's all you really need to know about it. It's me and Kevin Castanero making some comic book magic, and it is on Kickstarter starting in at the end of July and going all the way through August. So we've got just amazing art, some amazing covers from my buds at Lethal Comic Books, Carl Kerschel, Andy Belanger. I'm doing a cover, Kevin's doing a cover. I am doing flashback. I'm writing the series and doing some flashback stuff. Kevin is doing the bulk of the amazing artwork that you got to check out. With every issue, like with every issue, there will be, what do we got? We got a free sketchbook, we got a free poster, free stickers, along with the actual oversized comic book that you'll get. So yeah, on Kickstarter, check it out. Thanks for listening.